All right, let's talk Las Vegas Raiders here for a little bit. Look, obviously the Raiders have been in the news a lot this week. Of course, the big trade moving off of Devontae Adams. A lot of headlines on that and what it means, but there's a really key factor behind this Raiders decision that in the long term could really work to their favor. We'll break it down in just a second. I'm Nick, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, so the Las Vegas Raiders, as I'm sure everyone is well aware of the fact, traded receiver Devontae Adams to the New York Jets for a conditional draft pick earlier this week. And of course, that was the big news, the big hullabaloo going around the NFL sphere. But when you dig deep into what the Raiders are actually going to get, not necessarily in terms of compensation and draft picks, but the overall strategy and direction of this team, it could definitely work out in their favor. Let's pull up this article first, and we'll talk about why this could be advantageous for the Raiders and a smart move. Let's pull up this article courtesy of Athlon Sports. On Tuesday, the Las Vegas Raiders traded Adams to the New York Jets in exchange for a conditional third-round pick, which has the possibility to turn into a second-rounder. Obviously, it hurts to lose a star receiver. Adams has been the focal point of the offense since joining Las Vegas in 2022, and it's not fun to see him go. Still, there is a bright side. One key part of the trade is that the Jets will be taking on all of Adams' salary, so the money Las Vegas was expected to pay him for the rest of the season, as well as next year, is completely off the books. With that in mind, according to Spot the Raiders now have the fifth most cap space during the 2025 offseason in the entire NFL, with $108,404,175 available. All right, for those of you who aren't aware of this, if there's any unused salary cap during the season, it gets added as extra cap for your team the following season. So money they have allocated towards Adams, as long as they don't spend it on, signing somebody else or trading for somebody else this season, that money will be rolled over into next season, which is why they've got so much dang cap space, which should set themselves up for massive moves going forward. Miles, I'm curious what your thoughts are on this. But first, Raider Nation, in the comment section below, give us your feeling, now that it's a few days away from the trade, how you would grade it out. Do you think this was a B trade for the Raiders? Maybe you think it was an A. Maybe you hate it, think it was an F. Whatever it is, grade this trade for the Raiders for us in the comment section below. Really want to hear from you guys. But Miles, what are your thoughts now that all the dust has settled and we know where every team stands after this huge trade?
Yeah, Nick, I think this was a pretty good trade in the Raiders' favor. I think it was even more favored to the Raiders than the Jets were getting from it, because if you break down this trade at the most broad level, Devontae Adams was not going to help the Raiders this year. He wasn't really going to get them too much further. He wasn't happy with the team. I think overall it'd be a net negative if they just sat him on the roster, because right now this is not a Raiders team that is set to go out and win any kind of deep playoff run, championship, anything like that. So I think moving off of him, getting the most you could for him, getting some draft capital, and the ability for them to lose all of that cap hit for this year and next year is absolutely massive. I think that's what really sets this trade off over the edge, because it puts them in a really nice situation entering into the 2025 free agency season. I think they're going to be able to go out there and get a lot of very good pieces for, inevitably, who, what I think they're going to do is go after a new quarterback in the draft. I think they'll use some of this capital that they gain to potentially go to the draft. And the other thing is, the Raiders right now, as their position, they're 2-4. So they're, second tier as far as draft goes right now. I think, you never know, but they're probably going to be in that top 10 range the way that things are panning out this year, unless they make some massive changes. It kind of seems like they're going into a rebuilding mode, which I think is good, because I don't think they have a solid foundation right now. I think they need to take another shot at quarterback. I think that they can get whoever they want and then use a lot of that draft capital, not draft capital, use a lot of that actual capital that they have saved from Devontae Adams and build a good team around whoever they pick at the quarterback position. So I think overall, this was a really good trade for the Raiders. It set them up very nicely for the future. And I think just overall, the Jets didn't win because I don't think Devontae Adams really going to help them out too much. The Raiders didn't lose anything by losing Devontae Adams, and all of the assets they gain really makes them the big winners of this trade.
Yeah, so anytime you make a trade in season when you lose a player, the first question you have to ask yourself, were we going to be a playoff team or a team going to make a run in the playoffs? And now we just got worse. And the answer with the Raiders, I think, is no, right? And I know that the standings are the fourth best team in their division. I think they're probably close to the Broncos around the third. I think the Chiefs and Chargers are clearly better. I think half the AFC North is better than the Raiders. I think the Texans are better. I think the Colts are better. I think the Bills are better, right? There's just not enough teams that the Raiders are better than on paper right now. Now, the reality is that could obviously change in a year or two. Most importantly, if they get quarterback right. Going into the season and the offseason and training camp, the big question was going to be, could Aiden O'Connell become that guy? It didn't appear to be that case. It hasn't been yet. So at this point, do you just keep Davante Adams on your roster, finish what 7-10, 8-9, wherever direction they're heading in? Maybe they go 9-8, sneak into the playoffs and get bounced out early, and then try and have to figure out what to do in the future? Or do you get some capital? Do you get some dollars? Do you put yourself an opportunity to make big moves when you find your quarterback of the future? Because that is the pattern of success. You look at every quality football team in the National Football League. You look at the Houston Texans. They got their quarterback, CJ Stroud, had a lot of cap space. They surround him with elite talent. Texans are really, really good, right? You look at the Baltimore Ravens. They had Lamar Jackson, surrounded him with elite talent. A lot of that was on defense. They tried their best on offense, added some players more recently. The Ravens are obviously very, very good. Early in Patrick Mahomes' career, that's what they did. It obviously worked out well for them. We saw that with Josh Allen early in his career for the Buffalo Bills as well. The reality is, until you're good at quarterback or believe you're good at quarterback, you don't want to go all in. That's one of the true things. You don't want to go all in unless you're sure you've got your right guy, because the moment you commit a lot of cap space and really go in the red for a long time, it is brutal to get out of it. It takes years. We've seen a lot of teams. Look at the Tennessee Titans are a great example of that. They were a good team, aggressive team. They went all in. They try to go 100% with Will Levis. He looks bad. They had Ryan and Tannehill before that. It wasn't going great. And they kind of, I don't want to say wasted a number of years, but the reality is they had good rosters, but not good enough quarterback, and they went aggressive too early. The Raiders are taking a smart approach here, saying, we don't have our quarterback. We got a few other holes on the roster right now we got to address. Now's the time to sell high on Adams and focus on the future.